Hello students. So we continue with our chapter number 1 of geography, that is resources and development, and this is the video number 2 related to this chapter. So in video number 1 we have already covered the definition of resource, what is a resource and what are the conditions related to it, its technological, its economical and its cultural conditions. And then we had done the different classification of resources on various bases like biotic and abiotic resources, then the renewable and non-renewable resources on the basis of exhaustibility, then on the basis of ownership we had covered the 4 of its type, and similarly on the basis of status of development we have again covered the 4 of its type. So now we are moving to the next part related to this video number 2, and the topic is development of resources. So we all know that resources play a very crucial role in maintaining the quality of life for human beings. But unfortunately, because we considered our resources as the free gift of the nature, we started over exploiting them. And due to this indiscriminate uses of resources, several kinds of problems have been faced by us. And what are these problems? Number one, few of the greedy people who are having the resources, they are over exploiting them, and which results in the depletion of these resources. And number two, the accumulation of these resources in the hands of few people have divided our society into two groups, haves and have nots. That means rich and poor. And the third and very genuine and very serious problem is exploitation of these resources has led to the problem of global warming, led to the problem of environmental imbalance. So all these problems are related to the indiscriminate uses of our resources. So the solution of our indiscriminating use of or overuse of our resources come in the concept of sustainable development. So sustainable development is the concept which focuses on the development without harming our nature, our surrounding, and at the same time, while taking care of the needs of present generation, we also have to take care of the need of future generation. And the background of this concept sustainable development tells us how in the 18th century, when industrialization started and spread in various parts, so for the sake of development of our country, we just over exploited our land resources, natural resources like water and the other resources, and it led to the global warming situation, climatic change situation, and the environmentalists as well as the scientists, they started giving warning to their respective leaders and governments. If we will continue with this kind of development, then we will certainly going to create disaster for our earth. So the concept of sustainable development came, and due to their regular warnings, the warnings of these environmentalists and scientists, finally United Nations, they were ready to call a summit in 1992 for the protection of our mother earth. So this was the first international earth summit which was called in 1992 in the capital of Brazil, that is Rio de Janeiro. And in this particular Earth Summit, the main purpose was to take care of our environment, to make our development policy in such a way which would not create any kind of harm to our surroundings. So that was the purpose of this Rio Earth Summit 1992. Let's discuss this Rio de Janeiro Earth Summit 1992. As I have already told you, this Rio de Janeiro Earth Summit was called on the initiative of United Nations, and this summit was called in the month of June, from 3rd of June to 14th of June 1992, and this is the historical picture related to this Earth Summit. And in this Earth Summit held in Rio de Janeiro, it was decided that now all the delegates who are participating in this summit will accept the Agenda 21. Now, what was the Agenda 21, which was signed by all the members? More than 100 delegates they gathered at Rio de Janeiro, and what they decided? They decided the following points under Agenda 21. Number one, aim to achieve the sustainable development. That means they change their focus from development to sustainable development. Then the second point was they wanted to fight against the environmental damage, poverty and disease by making a combined efforts. So for this fight, they will make the global cooperation among all the nations who are participating, and they will take the shared responsibility to take care of this problem. And the final and the most important aim that was decided in this agenda was that every country at their local level will make their own agenda according to the basis of their local needs. So after covering the Agenda 21, let's move to our next topic. And the next topic is resource planning. So question is, what is resource planning? Resource planning is a judicious use of our resources so that we can make the maximum benefit of these available resources without creating any damage to our environment or minimum damage to our environment. So in this resource planning, there are three very complex stages which are involved, and these stages we have to understand. It means कि जब हम अपने resources को कहीं पे किसी एरिया में लोकेट करते हैं तो किस तरह से उसका यूज करेंगे. फॉर दैट पर्पस देयर शुड बी अ प्रॉपर प्लानिंग, एंड देयर आर three stages of our resource planning. The first one is identification and listing of resources. तो सबसे पहले we have to identify those areas where we are expecting some resources, like we are expecting coal or minerals in some particular area. So for that purpose, what we will do the survey as well as the mapping of that particular area with the help of our science and technology. Then we will make a estimation of quality and quantity of resource, कि कितनी क्वालिटी में रिसोर्स मिलने जा रहा है, कितनी क्वांटिटी में मिलने जा रहा है और किस क्वालिटी का रिसोर्स मिलेगा. देन आवर सेकंड स्टेज स्टार्ट्स, एंड द सेकंड स्टेज इन्वॉल्व्स द प्लानिंग स्ट्रक्चर ऑफ our resources available in that particular area so that we can exploit these resources or extract these resources with the help of our proper technology, proper skills, and the various institutions which are required for the excavation of these resources. And then comes the last and the final stage, that is the matching of the resources of one particular area with the national development plan. That means how much resource we are going to use. We will make a proper development plan and will match it with the national development plan. So now again we are going back to the topic resource planning. We have done the definition of resource planning. Now the question sometime comes, how resource planning is important for the country like India. How the resource planning that plays a very important role in the country like India. So let's begin. Resource planning is important for the country like India because in India resources are not equally distributed. There are some areas which are rich in resources, certain kind of resources, and there are some areas which are lacking those resources. Now we can have the example of Chhattisgarh and Madhya Pradesh and Jharkhand and Odisha, which are rich in mineral resources like coal and iron ore, but they are lacking in other resources. On the other hand, the states like Haryana, Punjab, UP and Bihar, they are rich in soil resource, but they are lacking in the mineral resources. The another reason why we should use our resources in a proper manner for country like India, because resources, they are unequally distributed, we all know that, and the areas, the states where one resource is in abundance, they can over exploit those resources, which lead to the pollution, the problem of pollution or environmental imbalance. Now another example we have of states like Rajasthan, which is lacking in water resources but has a bright scope as far as the wind energy or solar energy is concerned. So due to this unequal distribution of resources in India, there is a need to conserve our resources. So for after covering this, the question comes, what is resource conservation? So judicious uses of resources so that we can make the maximum benefit out of them is called resource conservation, which will take care of present as well as future need. So why resource conservation is important? We have again the almost the same points. The first one is resource conservation is important because the resources, many of the resources are non-renewable in nature, and once they exhausted, they cannot be reproduced again. Second one, conservation of these resources also help in controlling the environment by controlling our wastage. Then third one, resource conservation also help us to create proper environmental balance in the country, and similarly resource conservation will ensure the needs of future generation that can also be taken care of. Now the last and final reason for the conservation of our resources is that the human growth or development is completely depends on our resources. So there is a need for the conservation of resource, and the inspiration we get from this great leader Mahatma Gandhi, who used to say that there is a enough resource available in our nature to satisfy the needs of everyone, but not enough to satisfy the greed of even a single individual. So with this, our topic is now over, and this is also the end of our video number 2. Thanks for watching the video. Have a nice day.